Hey, so I woke up this morning and rolled over and grabbed my phone like I do every morning, and the literal first thing I saw on Reddit was an incredibly depressing thread on, I think, the Ask Men subreddit about why young men are just completely opting out of dating. And the replies were just really sad. Like, the reasons that people have for not participating are completely understandable, but it's really sad that especially people in that age range, I guess, although I mean I found this to be the case in my late 30s too, are just feeling like their only option is, A or B, participate in this thing that totally sucks, or B, completely opt out. I actually just wrote something about this on Reddit a couple days ago. I'll link to that below, about what to do if you want something but you have a lot of reservations about it, which for me I've found results in next to nothing happening, because I don't want it to. I only want things to happen that I'm sure I want to happen. I don't like the idea of rolling the dice on something that might not end up being what I want it to be. So I like to be totally sure about something before I decide, okay, this is going to happen for me. So I wrote this post about how there's an illusion, and this comes directly from a book I'm reading right now called Crucial Conversations. I'm only partway into the book, but it made perfect sense to me in relation to the manifesting stuff. It often appears that there are only two choices for some reason. It's like a human failing, especially when emotions are high and you're feeling like you have a fight or flight response to something, especially with people. That the book is about people. But I found this is often the case, where you kind of default to thinking, I want this thing, but there's this downside. And that, I think, is also an issue with people who are trying to, or who want to have a meaningful romantic relationship, or any kind of relationship. But in this context, they're talking about dating. And I wanted to talk about this, and then somebody actually posted something on this thread that I'm referring to that I wrote the post for, and I responded, and I thought it was probably time for me to talk again about how I manifested Matt, my fiance. I am now engaged. My gorgeous ring, which I love. I thought it would probably be a good time to talk a little bit about the mental stuff that went into that. Now, first of all, I wasn't able to make anything happen in this area of my life until I was willing to have faith in it. And I've had faith in every other aspect of my life that's been successful. Basically, I believed that I could get the things I wanted. I believed that if I wanted them, I could get them. From a mundane perspective, that I could make it happen. That's just, I think, a confidence personality trait. If you don't have that, you can develop it. But when you add in a belief that you are being aided by a divine intelligence, which, when you start thinking of it from those terms, you can see how it's at work in your life. You can see how things have been brought together in a way, orchestrated in a way that could not have been figured out by you down here on earth level. That's when things get crazy. That's when you can make anything happen. And for some reason, all the way until I was 40 years old, I just didn't have faith. I did not believe that I was really going to get the thing I wanted, that I was really going to meet somebody that I had a good enough relationship with, that I would be able to say, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm willing to work out whatever problems we have, because our relationship is fulfilling enough for me to want to do that. It was really less, it was more, I think, on my end, that I didn't feel like I was good enough to ever have the thing that I would think was good enough to want to commit to. So it really was about me. But then when I found myself at 39, 40, having, for the most part, resolved my issues with myself physically, which was a big one. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I had a good enough body to have what I thought I wanted from a relationship at that point, which of course has evolved. But I had problems with myself, and when I found myself at 40 saying, well, I fixed everything, I'm good enough looking now, I have my life where I want it, I'm proud of myself, I have some major accomplishments that set me apart from others, I'm happy with my personality, I like myself how I am, but it's too late. I'm 40. It's over. There's nobody left. The thing I want an uncomplicated relationship. I don't want kids. I don't want somebody who has kids. I thought, thinking that at 40, my contemporary would have little kids and have, an ex-wife or somebody who I didn't want around. I just had these ideas about what was possible at that point. And I don't have these in any other, I didn't have any limitations placed on what I could make happen in any other area of my life. And it wasn't until I finally got it in sort of a revelation moment that was no different. That the scarcity and competition that I had opted out from in every other area of my life also applied to people. That was when, in that moment, I realized all these thoughts that I had were just BS. They just didn't, they just went away. When you really realize something, the thoughts, when the root of the thoughts is gone, you don't have the thoughts anymore. Maybe you have them a couple more times before you remember the new truth, and then they stop happening. So pretty quickly I realized, okay, it doesn't matter that I'm 40. There's shitloads of people out there, and and that's true at any age. There are tons and tons of people, and you're not looking to attract a large demographic. Even if you're 99 years old, there's somebody else out there for you. You only need one person. It's not a numbers game. It's operating from a level of creativity, not scarcity and finite resources. As Wallace Wattles says, he's got a line in A Science of Getting Rich, or maybe it's repeated many times, but basically, if it doesn't exist, it will be created from the ether, essentially, because that's the illusionary world that we live in. So getting rid of the idea of scarcity was at the heart of then having faith, the same way that I've had, I've got a ton of evidence in the rest of my life that this isn't just an opiate for the masses. This creative directing of your life and your desires is real. It's not magical thinking. I have all the evidence in the world of that, and had it at the time. And so kind of magically, I just knew that I was going to get that thing, that I was going to get that relationship. I just knew, because I knew I wanted it. And I knew that I was good enough for it. And, if I were 20 and thinking that the idea that I would never find it just wouldn't even enter into my mind unless there was some other thing I was carrying around, like I'm cursed. Maybe this is my cross to bear, which also incidentally crossed my mind hundreds of times. But basically what I'm saying is the thing standing in my way was the idea of scarcity. And so I wanted to talk about this because this is where people are getting stuck. This idea that there's only one way to get something. You don't have to know how you're going to get it. You just have to know that divine intelligence, it really does become easier to use the word universe, which people don't like. But whatever the thing is that you're connected to that somehow orchestrates these events for you, that thing can do anything. It can do anything, and it can definitely cross your path with somebody who is right for you. That's not even hard. Think about it. There are so many people, even if you are in Antarctica, a person will be brought to you. You will be brought to a person. That is just how it works. And it works every time. Whether or not you can perceive that that person is there is another story. And I think that's what is interesting about my situation with Matt. If you watch this channel, the whole thing played out. I had a friendship that became complicated, that I wanted resolved, and it is. He is no longer in my life. I was open to whatever outcome that situation was going to bring, and it completely resolved itself. If you go back and watch my channel, this relationship that I had that was going on when I started this channel was a friendship with somebody that was consistently subtly pursuing me romantically and then pulling back anytime something would happen. And then I decided that I was going to open my mind to whatever outcome could possibly come from that, because I was pretty adamant that I wasn't going to. I don't like when people are like that. I don't like when people are wishy-washy about their feelings. So I was just like, I don't want anything to do with you romantically. But it just kept happening and happening and happening. Just kept coming up. And so I said, okay, I am going to open my mind to whatever the outcome is here. But what I want is for this to stop happening. I want this back and forth to stop happening. And what happened was, we were thrown into a situation thanks to coronavirus. Why? I don't know. Coronavirus probably came about to help a whole lot of people get their intentions worked out. That's my guess, because it had an effect on everybody I know. It threw me into a living situation with this person who came to stay with me during the initial crazy lockdown. And through that experience, I learned that I did not want to be romantically involved with that person. Incidentally, what I wanted was for that person to shit or get off the pot. And he did eventually tell me that he was willing to have a committed relationship with me. Unfortunately, I had already met Matt by then and it was too late. So that was happening during the manifestation of my fiance. I had already had this little awakening where I realized that the scarcity thing didn't apply and that I was going to get what I wanted. I never really doubted that at all after that. I don't think I really even had too many surface doubts about it. But there were some things in there that were kind of swirling around. And one of them was that I really didn't fully believe that there was anybody out there. I still found myself having thoughts like, man, you know, like I would just see a 45-year-old guy acting like a douchebag and say, okay, so that's what's left. You know, I would just kind of like have these observations of people, or go on a dating site, which I didn't want to be on at all, and see the people that were there and just, you know, kind of be disgusted with what appeared to be available. And, you know, it wasn't until I realized that I was doing that I even noticed that Matt was there. We had been talking here and there since like January of that year, and we didn't end up having like a meaningful conversation that led to any kind of interest on my part. I don't know what his experience was, but I wasn't able to be interested in him until after I realized all the things I just said fully, like outwardly realized. And, you know, there are tons of good people, and anyway, I only need one. You know, sometimes it can take a while for you to identify what your thoughts are that are blocking your vision. He was there for months and months before I noticed him. But so, on to the topic at hand, which is, how do you manifest the right relationship when, you know, you're one of these young guys that's like ready to opt out of the dating pool? This Reddit thread was really sad. Basically, every guy on it just said, I'm not what women are looking for. I'm not rich enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not interesting enough. My hobbies are boring. I have nothing to offer based on the feedback that I'm getting from the women that I'm going out with, the women on these dating sites. And my response to that is, You're not trying to appeal to women as a whole. WHOLE. You're not trying to appeal to everyone. You're trying to believe that the right person for you exists and will be brought to you without you having to jump through all of these hoops, like going out on endless dates with people that you aren't that interested in, spending money you don't have, feeling like you're being judged. You don't have to do any of that. Get it in your head. You don't have to do any of that. Okay? And in this thread, these guys are basically saying that. They're saying, I've realized I don't have to do this and I'm just going to go my own way. That's the problem right there. Decide you don't have to do it. And this goes for a 50-year-old woman and everybody else who feels like they're in a demographic that is just not good enough. I know a lot of women, older women, feel this way. Stop participating in that, but don't then decide that what's left for you is this other shitty option of just not participating and being alone. If you can get good with being alone, you will be light years ahead of everything I'm saying, and it will be that much easier. But you don't have to decide then that the only other option is being alone. Decide that the third option is you will not participate in that garbage, and the right, amazing person who is perfect for you, who also likes bird watching and watching TV and likes, a guy that's bald and 5'5", just decide that that person exists and will be brought to you. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't do anything. This is a very fine line. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you may end up finding that person on a dating app through some string of events that leads you to be back on there for 5 minutes. I don't know how it will happen for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to go on another date. It just means that you're going to operate your life entirely from the sense of complete certainty that it is done, because you have decided it's done, and that's all you have to do. That's it. You have to approach it from a place of no scarcity. It's being created for you. If that person doesn't exist, the universe, divine intelligence, whatever, will create that person for you and create their backstory and add it onto the play, into the play that is your life, onto the stage that is the play of your life, and you will find that person and you will get what you want. What other choice do you have, honestly? Every other alternative is horrible and depressing. If what you really want is to be alone and that's exciting to you, go for it. I love being alone, honestly. By the time I met Matt, I was really cool with being single. But I also knew that I wouldn't be. So I don't know how much that played into it. I just knew that the rest of the time I was single was probably going to be it. Because I knew it was happening behind the scenes. I just knew it. So that's what you have to do. If what you want is a partner, opt out of this world level scarcity, mundane, I have to meet somebody through an app, I have to measure up to someone else's standards. The people that are playing this game are like NPCs in my mind. They're non-player characters. They're like the people in a video game that are there that you click on that give you a message bubble telling you where to go next. They're just noise. You don't have to participate. I didn't meet Matt through an app. I met him by being out there talking about stuff that I found interesting and just giving my honest opinion and actually documenting and talking about a lot of things that I think could be considered pretty unflattering if they were put up on a dating app. And yet I managed to still find the person that will be marrying soon, in short order. And only, I think I kind of had this little awakening on December 2nd, 2019. And the first time Matt ever spoke to me was I think in February. Of course, I didn't know who he was, and we didn't start like dating or anything at that point, but like he was there and he showed up really fast. I don't know when the first time was that he saw me, whether it was on YouTube or on Reddit or wherever, but it was pretty fast. And the timelines behind the scenes for what we were going through throughout the years prior to that also matched up in a pretty crazy way. So the bottom line is, you have to stop thinking about things from the perspective of what your odds are, or what your what the finite resources that appear to be there are. That's kind of at the heart of this entire thing, is believing that you don't have to struggle with the 3D world to get what you want, that the thing you want, that the struggle essentially is released to divine intelligence, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, the universe, your higher self, whatever makes sense for you. That's at the heart of this, that it's done. So when it comes to this topic of dating, especially in the US, because this was an American, a thread full of American people. Yeah, you have to opt out of the game. It's that simple. You have to opt out of the game. You have to opt out of measuring up to the standards of an entire demographic of people that don't matter at all. What the average 25-year-old woman is looking for is completely irrelevant to you. You want the woman that is what you want, who also wants what you have to offer. If you can't believe that that exists, then that's where you have to work. You have to believe it exists. And honestly, it shouldn't be that hard to believe it. There are so many people out there. To believe that there is not a woman or man, depending on who you are or what orientation you have, to believe that there is not a woman or man out there who you would want, that wants what you have to offer, is pure insanity. It's insane. It doesn't make sense from any perspective, and it makes even less sense from a perspective of creating your reality. Divine intelligence can handle it, I promise. This isn't even a hard one. It's not even a hard one. It's not even squeezing blood from a turnip. It's like rearranging your paths so that you cross. It's not that hard. So just decide what you want. I would recommend being reasonable about things. I don't know. I think it's easier to believe you're going to get something that is reasonable to believe in than to manifest a busty gal that owns a brewery and loves threesomes. But you know what? That person exists. If that's what you really truly want, hold out for it. I hope that this helped somebody and helped clarify things. And it worked for me easily, without any effort. And you can watch how that whole thing played out on this channel, from the very beginning with my friend Steve and how all that BS went down, which undoubtedly led me to the exact right place where I was when I met Matt, which was almost exactly at the end of the relationship with Steve. You can watch all of that and watch it play out and hear all of the mental processes that went into it. It's all here.